It's time now for Monday analysis, Monday analysis, Monday analysis, Monday analysis. It's time now for Monday analysis. Hey everyone, how's it going? Oh, I don't look too good today, do I? Feeling a bit peaky. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's the Flying Pig here on Flying Pig United. Everybody's joining me right now. Hope you're having a good day. Sir Blumpkin in the house, nice name. Sir Blumpkin. I know what a Blumpkin is. And that's messed up. Jack and Brad Gaming says hello. How's it going, lads? How's it going, lads and lasses? Claude Arenze says, Wagwan Pig. How's it going to you and everybody else tuning in right now? Just want to kick this video off right away, really, by saying apologies for the lack of match reaction for the Bournemouth game at the weekend. I was working all day long on Saturday and I just didn't get around to doing it on Sunday, so I really apologise for that. Obviously, most of the time I do match reactions occasionally when it's the early kickoff on a Saturday, which screws me over, usually because I have to work usually on a Saturday in the daytime. It's annoying. It is very annoying. So apologies for that, but of course, normal service will be resumed with the Juventus game and any forthcoming games after that. So just bear with me. Sorry there was no reaction on the channel. I do apologise. Everybody tuning in right now, do us a favour, smash a like on this video. Let's get stuck into talking about the weekend's action. So, of course, it was a big weekend in the Premier League for various reasons. Huge game for Manchester United against Bournemouth. This was a must-win game for United. You know, there was no coming away from Dean Court with a frigging draw, man. No, none of that would have been acceptable. We had to go there and we had to get the win and we had to batter the Cherries. Did we? Did we batter them? We didn't batter them, did we? They battered us. But we did get the 3 points. We did get the winner. Courtesy of Marcus Rashford. Get in there, my son. Late in the game winner. Fantastic to see. Great for the lad's confidence. He needed that. He needed to get that goal because he has had a bit of a dry period in terms of goals. And I think he's really staked a claim to being our man up top there. You know, forget Romelu Lukaku. Guy couldn't hit a barn door if he was standing next to it. You know, he is garbage. I want to see Marcus Rashford given a run in the side now. I think that seems to be, you know, what Jose's thinking anyway by giving him the start there and the opportunity. In fact, he's got the winner there. I want to see a lot more from him. I think we're going to see that. He could really prove to be a big player for us this season. You know, Romelu's not performing. He's not performed. I'm sure he will perform again in the future. But until that happens, see you later on, Frankenstein Jr. We want to give Marcus Rashford a little run in the side. We've got a super chat here from Alex Rincon. How's it going, Alex Rincon? Thank you for your super chat, mate. He says, happy Monday, Pig. Fancy our chances against Juve. Happy Monday to you also, Alex. And also you remind me to say happy birthday to my brother, who is 34 years old. We're all getting old, man. We had a deal, God. We had a deal. Everyone else was to age, but not me. Anyway, happy birthday to my brother over in the States. Thanks so much for your comment as well, Alex. Really appreciate it. Chances against Juventus. Let's just get stuck into that right now. I would say not good. Based on how they came to Old Trafford and basically dominated us and made us look bang average and sort of humiliated us in a way. You know, we were sort of like that, you know, like a big muscle man against a little kid. And the little kid is trying to get him. And the muscle man's just holding him at a distance by the head. And the little kid is swinging away. But he can't hit the big man. No. Basically, Juve's the big man and United is the little kid in that game anyway, at the Old Trafford game. But listen, we have been shit at home this season. We really have. And Juventus are obviously a really good team. One of the best teams in Europe. They've had a great start to their Serie A campaign. Always going to be a tough game, that one. And with United the way we were going into that home fixture, I just felt like it was always going to be an uphill struggle. And it certainly was, because we were second best in pretty much every department. I mean, I say we got humiliated. We didn't really get humiliated. I mean, they won 1-0, didn't they? But it was such a dominant professional performance from them. We never really had too much of a look in. They defended us off the park. And they showed that little bit of extra quality that they've got, especially defensively. You know, this is United's problem at the moment, is that Jose's got us playing defensive football, if you like. But without a good defence, we are struggling in that department. We're lacking in that department. We're having a mare, basically, defensively. And Juventus, on the other hand, have an outstanding defence. Players like Chiellini, you know, real veterans, real experience, real quality. Not to mention the unbelievable attacking talents they've got. So, if I'm totally honest with you, Alex, I think we're going to struggle. It's an away fixture, tough place to go. big team, big players, Ronaldo. You know, it would be amazing if United could go there and get the upset and get the win and dominate. But personally, my thoughts on it are we're not going to do that. You know, we're not going to do that, are we? Everybody who is joining me, let me know your thoughts on what you think could happen in this game against Juventus. Hold on. 2 seconds. There we are. Right, we're back. Okay, so let me just refresh this a little bit. I've got a few topics that I want to talk about today. Beefy Mario comments and says, it's my birthday today too, Pig. I'm 32. Happy birthday to you, pal. We're all getting old. It's an absolute travesty. 32 years of age, you old man. No, honestly, though, that's not old. You're a spring chicken still. But have yourself a good day. Thanks for stopping by on your birthday. All the best to you, pal. Hope you have a very good one indeed. And thanks for spending your birthday tuned into watching this shitty channel. Matt Adams in the house and comments. He says, favourite player ever, Mr. Pig? Well, favourite player ever? There's probably 3 candidates for me. I can't really narrow it down to one. There's probably 3 candidates for me, and these are just my own personal opinions. When I was a kid, I wanted to be Ryan Giggs. Ryan Giggs was my idol. I love Ryan Giggs. To me, he's probably, his career as a Premier League player is never really going to be surpassed. I mean, it may be, but the appearances, the trophies, the amount of stuff that lad won, his dedication to United, his skill, his flamboyance as a footballer. He started his career as this unbelievable flying winger, and he ended his career as this sort of midfield maestro, really intelligent player. And to me, you know, it doesn't get much better than Ryan Giggs. He probably will not go down in the annals of football legendariness simply because he played for Wales at the time. Wales were just gash-tastic, weren't they? I know they did well recently. They got Gareth Bale. They are a better team than they used to be with Giggsy. He's never really been able to shine on an international stage. He's never really had a chance to shine at World Cups, Euros, things like that. Now, in terms of the Premier League, in terms of what he did in the Premier League, you know, it doesn't get much better than that. But I think, and wrongfully so, he will not be remembered up there, regarded as the same as the likes of Thierry Henry and people like that who played in the Premier League. I think he will actually, if you look back in the future, Thierry Henry will probably hold a higher regard than Ryan Giggs. And I think that's totally wrong. I think Giggsy was an absolute legend. I'm waffling here. The other people that I would put in there, Eric Cantona, another reason when I was a lad, he came to United. He was the catalyst. I think we won 4 out of 5 Premier League seasons that he was here. We got him from bitter rivals Leeds for a snip at the time. And he basically was the turning point or the driving force, the catalyst for that Manchester United side. The intelligence of the man, the arrogance of the man were just second to none. I thought he was quality for Manchester United. He was almost on a different wavelength. It's only really like, I remember him and Giggsy being sort of on the same wavelength when it came to out there on the pitch. He's read the game differently to everybody else. And to me, he was a very special player. Perhaps retired too young, left United too young. But what a spell that he had at Manchester United for that period that he was there. He was absolutely unbelievable, absolutely brilliant. Certainly one of the best players I've ever seen play. So to me, it's probably between those two. And then I'd also stick in Peter Schmeichel there. I used to love Peter Schmeichel, the Great Dane. I was a goalkeeper, and Peter Schmeichel was my hero growing up as a kid. I thought he was just the best goalkeeper in the world. In my opinion, I don't think there's been a goalkeeper as good as Peter Schmeichel since. I know people will debate for people like Casillas or Buffon. And those are unbelievable talents. They're definitely right up there in the same bracket. But you're talking about somebody here who had an unbelievable Euros in 1992 and actually got Denmark to win it. Simply because of how awesome he was in goal. And yeah, they had the Laudrups and unbelievable players out there on the pitch. Much better than the shite they've got today. But that was just a great generation. But he stamped a mark on that generation because he was just this unbelievable, unstoppable goalkeeper in between the sticks. And yeah, he made mistakes like any goalkeepers do, but very, very few. And nobody marshalled a defence like Peter Schmeichel, in my opinion. You know, if a player made a mistake in front of him, we're talking about top quality players here. If they made a mistake in front of him, he would give them an ear bashing of which you wouldn't believe. You know, I sort of feel bad for the younger generation who missed out on growing up in the 90s when Manchester United were at their real pomp, when we had people like Schmeichel and Keane and Giggsy and Scholesy and all those lads and lasses all those lads around. It was amazing period for Manchester United's from Manchester United's history, our most successful period with the most successful manager, the best manager we've ever had, really, in terms of just winning sheer volume of things. Obviously, Matt Busby's up there as well for some of the unbelievable achievements he made, not least winning the European Cup 10 years after the Munich air disaster. So this is a great club, and we've got a great history. I just want to just stamp that right now and say, listen, we weren't always this shit. Bear with us, okay? We're a work in progress right now. It was always going to be difficult after Sir Alex left, and we're suffering right now as United fans. We really are. But it's really not that bad, is it? You know, it's not like we have been down to the Championship. It's not like we're Leeds United, who used to be a great club, and, you know, almost sickens me to say their name. But Leeds United once were the force in England at one point back in the day. But look where they are now. I mean, I know they're decent now, but they're in the Championship at the end of the day. So we have not fallen to those lows. We are still in there. I mean, what are we at the moment in the league? 7th in the league, 8th in the league, whatever it is, on the same points as Bournemouth now. So, yeah, let me get back into the Bournemouth game, actually. Let's talk about that a little bit. So, it was shit, wasn't it? Like, the first half performance from us was an absolute diabolical laugh. Like, what were they doing? Like, Mourinho said after the game, we could have been 6 down or 6-2 or whatever at half-time, and that's absolutely true. We were so shit, defensively terrible, highlighting all the problems we got at the back, creating gash-tastically all, and I personally was just depressed by it. You know, I didn't watch the game live, but I caught up with it afterwards, and holy shit balls, we were bad. We really were. I mean, yeah, the second half was better from us, but why is it we have to go down in games? I keep saying this, but it keeps happening to perform, to play. Why do we need that pressure on us? Why can't we go out there and make it happen from the off? Now, maybe I'm not giving Bournemouth the credit they deserve because they are a top-quality side this season. They really are, and it sounds crazy to say that because they've still got a few championship jobbers in there and stuff, but Eddie Howe has done an unbelievable job getting those players into a real team. They play like a fantastic team. They play nice football. They ripped us open time and time again. They created lots of chances. They've done that to most teams this season. And they're a real good team. I personally think they will finish comfortably in the top 7 or 8 this season. I know they're there now, but most people wouldn't really expect them to hang on there. But I think they will. I think they've got a shot of being in Europe. It's quite unbelievable to think that Bournemouth could actually make it into a European spot. Fair play to them, man. Fair play to what they've done over at the club there. It's unbelievable. But in the end, Manchester United managed to get the win somehow. Rashford at the end of the game there. Want to talk about Martial as well. He scored another goal. I mean, this lad is in some serious form right now. Fair play to Anthony Martial. That's what I like to see. You know, as Bricktop said in Snatch, poke him with a stick and watch his bollocks grow. That's what he's done this season. He got a little bit of stick earlier on in the season. You could tell he wasn't happy. You can tell he had a point to prove. And his balls have grown since then, and he has shown a little bit of a little bit of quality recently. The form is back into his game now. He looks confident. He looks like he's got a lot to offer Manchester United, and you know, and I think as long as we've got a player like him performing well, he always gives us a chance. Because, like I say, on his day, I think he's absolutely as good as anybody. Obviously, it's just about getting him on his day as much as possible. Oh, we've got a super chat here from Gungshi. How's it going, Gungshi? Thanks so much for stopping by. He's dropped a hefty super chat on the channel, man. Absolute legend. Thanks so much for getting involved as ever. He comments and says, Ryan Giggs is my favourite United player too, Pig. I mean, it doesn't get much better, does it? I mean, in terms of just the flying winger, dribbling ability, he was so entertaining to watch. The style he had when he burst onto the scene as a 16, 17-year-old, it was like, who is this guy? Who is this player? And even then, you probably would not have thought he'd have gone on to have the career that he did. And what I mean by that is the longevity to the career and the amount of things that he won in his career. Was it 13 Premier League trophies? I think that is the number that he won. And when you think about that, for one player to have that, it's unbelievable. He is the most decorated player in Premier League history. So he's got to be right up there as one of the best Premier League players of all time. In my opinion, he is the best. He doesn't get the credit. I don't know why. He doesn't get the credit. But for some reason, he's just not considered in that same, I don't know, people even think Alan Shearer was better. Alan Shearer's not freaking better, okay? He scored shitloads of goals. He's actually the most, He scored the most Premier League goals, so you can't really argue with that. But obviously, I'm talking about different players, but people will look back and think of Shearer as a better player. Why is that? Because he had a decent Euros in '96? I don't know. Giggsy never had the opportunity to shine on an international stage, and maybe that's why he won't be held in that same regard. But as United fans, I think we will always hold him in that regard. You said he's your favourite player too. I remember sitting in a circle when I was 5 years old at school when the teacher was going around and saying, what do you want to be? What do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to be just like Ryan Giggs. So I didn't say it like that because I'm not Northern and I was a little kid. But but to me, Giggsy will always be my idol. And I don't really want to get too much into what's happened off the field, his personal life and stuff. It's all pretty messed up, that's a huge bitter disappointment to me personally, because like I say, he is my idol. And I don't want to talk about any of that stuff, but yeah. Giggsy, absolute legend. He also comments and says, there are so many others, Keane, Cantona, Scholes, Beckham, Cole, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Andy Cole, I mean, he's another player who doesn't really get the credit. He was so good, and even before joining United, the amount of goals he scored for Newcastle United was insane back in the day. He was so good, and for United, that unbelievable partnership he had with Yorkie. Andy Cole, to me, at the time, was one of the best strikers in the world. He was so good. And yeah, Fergie used to say about him, he needs 5 chances, but he'd give him those 5 chances and he'll stick one on the back of the net. And he used to score goals for fun. He's another one. Why don't people talk about Andy Cole like they talk about Alan Shearer? A lot of it's down to international, because internationally for England, Andy Cole, for whatever reason, didn't play that much. And when he did play, he didn't do too well. So maybe that's why. But in terms of Premier League players, I think you can't really get much better than that group of players you said there. Easily it could be Roy Keane, because Roy Keane was he was one of the most important players for Manchester United during the 90s, absolutely, because of his tenacity, because of his dogged determination, his winner's mentality, his competitiveness. And yeah, he was a fiery, hot-headed Irishman and he used to hack the shit out of people and get sent off from time to time. That's the price you pay to have a player with that fire in his belly. We don't have a player like that anymore. Not one. We don't have any player that can compete with the competitive nature of a Roy Keane. Nobody. And I think that is why we are struggling so much these days. He was such an important player for Manchester United back in the day. Whatever you say about him, I mean, since then, I'm going to be honest with you, he's gone down in my books. I loved Keane back in the day. He was your typical hard man, and every team needs one of those. He was your hard man. But since then, he comes out with all sorts of stuff, doesn't he? He's been very critical of United, and not in a productive way. I know I am as well, but, I just love the club. I want it to succeed. He seems bitter. He does actually seem quite bitter, which is a big shame. Also, some of the stuff he said about England during the World Cup, I was like, shut up, Roy. You freaking Irish, mate. Ireland aren't even in the World Cup. You shit. So, but he was kicking it when we lost to Croatia, giving it the big un. Ian Wright and him had a little bit of a paddy live on air, and I just completely agree with Ian Wright. I thought there's no need for it, Roy. It's got knocked out. No need to be a prick, is there? But anyway, if you're watching, Roy, I apologise. No, he's a legend, isn't he? He's an absolute legend of the game. And like you say, Gungshi, Scholes, Beckham. Beckham's another one. I always see these comments like, Beckham was shit, though. Hang on a second. Beckham wasn't shit. He wasn't the most skillful. He wasn't the most mobile. Absolutely not. But he was fit as a fiddle. He'd run for the entire 90 minutes. He wasn't the quickest player, what I mean by mobile. He was mobile. He was all over the freaking shop, really. But in terms of, in terms of pace, he wasn't spectacular. In terms of passing, though, he was. In terms of technique, he was. In terms of free kicks, he was. I mean, we haven't had another player like David Beckham since at Manchester United who could consistently bang in the free kicks like Becks did. Those things were a thing of beauty as well. They really were. I mean, if you go back, just do me a favour after this video, refresh yourself, go back, and I think there's a video on YouTube called All of David Beckham's Free Kick Goals, right? Go and watch that. You'll be watching it for a very long time, okay? And that's not because they're long clips. No, that's because there's so bloody many of them. The amount of free kicks that he scored, the unbelievable bending, arcing free kicks that he became known for. There's so many of them, not just for Manchester United, but afterwards, of course, in MLS and Real Madrid and all that. He was a spectacular player for Manchester United. Shame it didn't really work out, and there was all this sort of controversy between him and Fergie. He left. Otherwise, he would be right up there, in my opinion, with the likes of Keane and Scholesy and Giggsy. If he'd have stayed and ended his career at Manchester United, then he would be, in my opinion, that same legend. but maybe not quite just because of the length of time, but still, to me, he's unbelievable. What he did for England. He gets so much stick as a footballer. It's like people must have just not watched him play. It's not all about jinking runs and, you know, and step overs and all this shit. No. What it is about is a man who maybe doesn't have the same natural ability as some of the other players he's playing with, like a Ryan Giggs or something, but he has the determination. He has the ability to commit himself fully to the job. And the only reason David Beckham was so successful and so great with set pieces and such a great pass of the ball is because he practiced his socks off, probably more than anybody else. You know, there's stories about him practicing after training, practicing free kicks, going in his garden at home, putting it through hoops and all sorts of stuff non-stop. He practiced his socks off, and that is why he was such a technically gifted player when it came to striking the ball, passing the ball, set pieces, all that sort of stuff. And, you know, he was an absolute unbelievable player as well, absolutely. Thank you so much for your super chat there, Gunshi. You're an absolute legend. Thanks so much for stopping by. I want to give a big shout out to the new people who have supported me on Patreon this last few days, which is pretty awesome. I think we've got 4 patrons now on Patreon, so big shout out to Alex Rincon, who always gets involved in here as well. Thank you so much. Alex Rudd always gets involved and is supporting the channel on there. Shit, man. There's a couple of other people that I've forgotten as well, but let me try. I'll get them up. I'll give you a shout out later, because what I'm going to do, anybody who, you know, who takes the time to do something like that on there and support the channel on there, I will 100% give you a shout out every single week, because that's just amazing that you'd even do that. Yeah, Matt Adams comments, the Big Dane was a leader as well. He was a complete leader. He marshalled from the back. I don't think I've seen another goalkeeper who leads as well as Peter Schmeichel. He was so good. He organised that defence. He barked at that defence. He barked orders at that defence. He read the game incredibly well. And that's why United's defence at the time was some of the best around, because he was the best goalkeeper in the world, in my opinion, at the time. And when you've got somebody like that, and you've got somebody that can organise a defence like that and is vocal and will not accept anything than the very best, then it spurs the team on. I've said this in a lot of videos recently, but I'm going to say it again because it's so true. We had lots of leaders back then. He was just one example. We had a leader who was a goalkeeper. We had Keane, who was a leader. You know, we had the defence were all leaders back in the day there, whether it was a Jaap Stam or whether it was a Steve Bruce or whether it was a, you know, a bit later on and it was a Rio and a Vidic. We had so many leaders throughout the club. Even when we had Zlatan, he was a leader. But now we do not have leaders, and that is why we're seeing Manchester United struggle so much. I think it's why we're seeing players do silly things like do 28 steps up into a penalty and stuff like that, and do silly dances. And, you know, I think that's why we're seeing all of that, because we don't have a leader in there to get them by the scruff of the neck and demand better of them, to demand more of them. You know, that's what we need. We need players who demand better from themselves and from them teammates, and that is what a player like Roy Keane used to do, and Peter Schmeichel and people like that. Peter Schmeichel would go absolutely mad if somebody did something wrong in front of him. If his defence made an error, he would go mad, and he'd probably do something to them behind the scenes as well. That's the sort of man he had. And I know football's changed, it has got softer, but we're missing that at Manchester United. We're missing a leader. We're missing those hard characters behind the scenes who will not accept anything but the very best from their teammates. You know, we really are. Alex Rincon, one of my favourite players of all time is Eric Cantona. I had an old football coach show him to me for inspiration, and I fell in love with him. Oh, Eric Cantona. This video has just basically turned into a loving for old United players, but let's go with it. I agree. I mean, Cantona, you know, the old collar up, the au revoir. I loved him, you know. Even that time he kicked the shit out of that Crystal Palace fan. It's like everybody ridiculed him for that, and everybody, you know, was disappointed in him. I loved it. I thought, that guy's scum. He's giving it the big one on the sideline. He's got to give him a clump. Not just a flying Kung Fu Cantona kick, but a big old right hook followed afterwards, you know. It was, okay, you know, it's not acceptable. You can't do that, you know. It was mad. It was mad. But at the same time, he was such a character. He was such a fiery person. And he also led the team, you know, in a different way. He wasn't as vocal, but he dragged the team forward, and he played some incredible sort of football, which made his teammates play in a certain way. You know, like a player can dictate a game, and he was one of those players. He was one of those players who would pass the ball in a certain way in front of somebody, so they have to go in that direction. That's what I mean by that. Paul Scholes is another one of those players, but Eric Cantona, as an advanced player up the pitch, so technically good, so intelligent. He's another one. Like, why didn't he have the international career for France? I know he played for France, but he's not considered by French people as one of those legends. He's considered by United fans as legend and Premier League aficionados, but he is not considered by French people as a legend because he didn't play that much for the international side. But it's kind of weird how that happens. You've got players who are so good, and yet when it comes to representing their team on an international stage, they either cannot get into the team because there's players ahead of them that are favourable for the national team's manager, or when they play, they just can't replicate that form. I don't know what it is, but there's so many examples of that happening where a player is unbelievable, but not quite to the same level for the country. I mean, Alan Shearer is another one. I know I said he had an amazing Euros in '96, and he was an amazing player for us during that time. You always felt like you could score if you had Alan Shearer wearing an England shirt because he was the most scoringest player in Premier League history. You know, rightfully so. That man was a pure finisher. Head, left foot, right foot, strike from distance, tap in, whatever you want. He could do it all. He was a really, really gifted player. But he also did not have the England career that would match his Premier League career. Why the fuck's that? Do you know what I mean? Crazy. Gungshi comments, remember the likes of Billy Bremner. I hated Leeds. Leeds United, it's a swear word in my household. They're pure scum. They really are. And as long as they keep languishing down there, I'll be happy. I personally don't remember Billy Bremner. The only, I mean, I know he was a hard bastard. The only real stuff I know about him is from watching The Damned United, which if you've not seen it, it's a really good film about Brian Clough, who I love. He was an old English manager for any of the younger whippersnappers who don't know who Brian Clough is. If you don't, sort your freaking life out, go and do some research. But of course, Billy Bremner was like this hard man for Leeds United, and he was like the ringleader of the team and basically got Cloughy sacked. So the story goes anyway. That's my own. Obviously, I think this was back in the 60s, so I shouldn't really know too much about it. But there you go. Alex Rudd in the house with a super chat. He says, what up, Piggy? What up, Alex Rudd? How you doing, mate? Happy Monday to you. Hope you're having a good one. Thank you so much for stopping by in here. I will play you at FIFA very soon. You and Alex Rincon and anybody else who wants to play me, actually, what I'm going to do once a week is do like a FIFA versus subscribers series video where I get people on, such as yourself, Alex Rudd, and such as the Rinconator, and anybody else, and I will defeat them at FIFA. I will absolutely defeat them at FIFA. That's what's going to happen. You are no exception, Alex. I will batter you at FIFA, okay? No, thank you so much for stopping by, though. Let's play, honestly. Let's do it. Gungshi, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Solskjaer, Yorkie, etc. So many. Ruud van Nistelrooy as well. I mean, how do you leave him out of United's best 11 of all time? I know you do. You have to leave him out. But how do you leave him out? Because in terms of finishing, in terms of goal scoring, crikey, Ruud van Nistelrooy was unreal when we had him at Manchester United. He really was one of the very best finishers I've ever seen. Buster Cherry in the house comments and says, give a shout out to my brother. He's 50 today. 50 years old. Happy birthday to you. What's his name? Let me give him a shout out. What's his name? But yeah, thanks so much, Buster. It's also my brother's birthday, like I said at the top of the show. Guy Fawkes night, 5th of November. Any Americans don't know what that is. Basically what it is back in the day, I don't even know when, I'm talking like 1652 or some shit like that, there was what is known as the Gunpowder Plot. History lesson here for you now. Which was when a band of, I guess you would call them outlaws, or, yeah, let's just call them outlaws, plotted to blow up the Houses of Parliament. And what did they do? They hid shitloads of barrels of gunpowder under the Houses of Parliament, and they were going to blow the shit out of it when it had, you know, all the, I guess, members of Parliament in there. And, that would have been pretty messed up, but the plot was foiled at the last moment. They found Guy Fawkes, real name Guido, but he's known as Guy Fawkes. Um, anybody who's from England's like, yeah, stop talking about this shit, mate. We know. Okay, we learnt this when we were 6. But Guido Fawkes basically was the one that they found apparently about to light the match. They followed the plot. And he was hung, drawn and quartered and stretched out and all this stuff. And it's messed up. And every year, in order to celebrate the fact that the House of Parliament was not blown up and that we had foiled the plot, we celebrate something called Bonfire Night or Guy Fawkes Night, which is when people make effigies. They actually make effigies of Guy Fawkes and they burn him on a bonfire. Britain's pretty brutal, isn't it, lads and lasses? It is. What a messed up tradition. We make an effigy of a man that existed, that was hung, drawn and quartered and we killed, and then we burn the shit out of it on a bonfire. That's pretty messed up. But that's what we do in this country. And then we have fireworks, all that sort of stuff. So as far as I'm aware, that tradition is only celebrated in this country. But it's a funny day for it to be your birthday. It's my brother's birthday. It's this guy's birthday. Lots of fireworks all over the place. It's a good one, actually. So happy birthday to your brother, man. Thanks so much for getting involved with the comments. Right, I'm going to get back to your comments and your thoughts and opinions in a moment. For now, if you're tuning into this live stream, do us a favour, chuck a like on it. If you're new to this channel, subscribe. You will not regret it. But let's get stuck into some of the other stuff I want to talk about. And then I will get back to your questions afterwards. So, as things stand in the table at the moment, our plight has improved slightly. We are now 7th in the table. Obviously, we've come up from 8th. We beat Bournemouth, who were above us. We are now on equal points with Bournemouth, so that's good. I'm looking at the table now, and it's not as bad. It's not actually as bad as it could have been. We've done well recently. We've managed to get the wins. Whatever you think about the performances, like the Bournemouth game was not very good, but we got the 3 points, and that's all we need at the moment. We just need to keep the wins coming in. Our form is not bad. I mean, the last 5 league games we have lost, we've won, we've drawn, we've won, and we've won. So 3 wins and a draw from the last 5. It's not championship form, but it's definitely an improvement from the shite that we had at the start of the season. It really is. So, yeah, I think looking at it now, I'm feeling a little bit more positive about our prospects of getting into that top 4 this season. Like I said, I'm not going to cut my hair until we do get into the top 4. That's why I'm wearing this hat indoors right now, because it's a monstrosity underneath there. But yeah, looking at the table now, I mean, Manchester City, Chelsea and Liverpool are all unbeaten after 11 games in the Premier League. That's quite unbelievable, isn't it? I can't really remember a time when that's happened before. Somebody will correct me, I'm sure. But after 11 games of the season, the top 3 have not lost a game. Fucking hell, lads and lasses. Sorry for my language, but that is gashtastic for us, It just goes to show there's 3 teams in some real form so far this season. All of them staking a claim to challenge him for that Premier League trophy this season, and we are some considerable way off. We have lost 3 games this season in the Premier League out of 11. It's not good enough, really, especially when you consider City, Chelsea and Liverpool haven't lost any, and they are considerable amounts of points ahead of us. Chelsea and Liverpool are 7 points ahead of us each respectively, and Manchester City are 9 points ahead of us, leading the Premier League at the moment with 29 points. Man, we've got our work cut out for us. I personally, at this stage of the season, with how things have gone and how we've done and how we've been playing, I don't see how we can break into the top 3. I think we are in a fight for the 4th place this season with the likes of Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal. Arsenal have had a good start to the season, really, or not the start to the season, but certainly recently, last 10 games in all competitions, they've done really, really well. Fantastic for them. Fair play to them, I didn't think they would have as good of a season as they've had, and I know they are still not in the Champions League spots, and they're not quite up there competing. But Alex Rudd, I'm sure you'll be very happy with the way they're going. Buster Cherry, another Aguna in here. I'm sure you'll be very happy with the way things are going, all things considered. After Arsene Wenger's gone, big period of change at the club. We saw what happened at United. We've seen what happened at Liverpool previously when there's change of managers after years. And there can be a real drop-off. For Arsenal, it seems like they've actually improved the situation. The strikers they've got there, Aubameyang, Lacazette, on the day, they're as good as anyone. As a partnership, they look fantastic. So much pace and they're very good technically, good finishers, that sort of thing. Attacking-wise, they can really compete with the teams in the Premier League. Defensively, they're a bit like us at the moment. They maybe don't have the quality that they would like in there. They certainly don't have the quality of defenders that they've had in the past. Out of the Invincibles and, that defence, it was just one of the best defences in the world at the time, whereas now they don't have anywhere near that. So I don't expect them to really challenge for the trophy, but I think they could certainly challenge for getting in the top 4. They will be feeling a lot more positive about their chances of doing that than they were at the start of the season, that's for sure. And us, on the other hand, we're the opposite. We're all struggling now. We're not really confident that we can get into the top 4, and that is rightfully so because of the performances we've been putting in, because of the results we've had, because of the shitty start to the season, because of the negativity surrounding the club, the lack of players coming in. But what I will say is I'm looking at this table right now, and it's not so bad. I mean, Spurs have had an okay start to the season. They're only 4 points ahead of us. Arsenal have had a good run recently. They're only 3 points ahead of us. You know, 1 or 2 more results go our way, and we could be fourth. We could be fourth. And I think we're going to struggle to do much better than that this season, but that has to be our absolute minimum aim this season. Anything less than Champions League qualification would be a calamity. Anything less than challenging for the trophy really is a calamity based on how long Jose's had to work his magic at the club now. This is his 3rd season. How much money he's had to spend. He's spent a lot of money. We've invested a lot of money even before him in players coming into the club. So we have to see some results from that. If we're not seeing results from that, then, you know, there's serious problems at Manchester United because we have spent. Maybe we've not quite spent or outspent City. And yeah, sure, the last window we didn't spend. But we still actually brought Fred in for a reasonable amount of money, you know, and Dallo. And, you know, so we did actually sign some players. But I think if United get the right player in January, let's just say Jose goes on a decent run now. We have a decent run of games where we win games, we pick up the points, we surprise a few people. And it gets to Christmas time and we're 4th. Would you be happy with that? Thinking that, do you know what, in January, maybe we could just go out there, sign Harry Maguire, and then all of a sudden, we've got that sort of leader centre-back that we need. We've got that lad who can bring it out from the back, who's physically, shit, what's the word I'm looking for? But you know what I mean, who's just a powerful player. Both in terms of defensively, you know, we saw in the World Cup that he was very good for England, offensively as well, dangerous set pieces. I think he's a very good player. And, you know, if not him, then another top quality centre-back. But if we can get the right centre-back coming in and really shore the team up and get us defensively sound, because that's what Jose himself has criticised, is the reason, you know, he was critical of the players after the game against Bournemouth, is defensively we were shocking. Could have been 6-0. And when you're Jose Mourinho and you like to play a defensive style, you have to address those problems. It's a bad situation with the defence of United because they must be low on confidence. Those players don't know how long they've got at the club because Jose made his feelings perfectly clear in the summer that he was not happy. We didn't get the player that he wanted in the transfer window. We didn't sign that centre-back. That gives the centre-backs not so much confidence, does it, that they're going to be selected the next week? And it also just... it probably makes them think that they might be on their way out. And are they really comfortable and performing to 100% of their abilities if that's the case? I don't think they are. So it's a tough situation because Jose made it clear that he wasn't happy with the defence we've got right now, the defenders we've got right now, because we didn't sign that defender to come in there and be that top quality centre-back. It leaves the shitty centre-backs there to just mess it up, doesn't it? You know, the likes of Jones, the likes of Small and these guys. So... it's a tough situation. I think there was serious judgment errors all round by not signing the player that we all know we needed. But if we can address that in January, if we can get a quality player coming in January, then who knows? We just may go on and be able to secure top 4 quite comfortably come the end of the season. It seems silly to say about it now because we have had a shit season. I'm sure there's Spurs fans, Arsenal fans in there, whatever, City fans, scummers, scousers, who are laughing at what I'm saying right now because... yeah, you can't say we've been good this season. You can't. Overall, yeah, we've had our moments. We've had a couple of games. But overall, we've been pretty gash-tastic this season. We really have. But I just wanted to talk about the table and say that it's looking slightly more positive, at least. Yeah, right. Okay. So the other fixtures that happened at the weekend, this is a Premier League review breakdown show. I realised in my last video that I did last week, I don't really talk about many of the other teams, but I do want to not just address Manchester United's plight, but also, you know, the general state of the Premier League. So let's just go through the results. Leicester City, they beat Cardiff. Very happy for them, I really am, because they wanted to show tribute to the man that obviously was in charge of their club and was such a great man for their club, such an influential man for their club that passed away so sadly in that helicopter crash. I'm glad that they went on and won that game. I really am, because it just, it's a nice tribute to the man. It's nice that they were able to go away to Cardiff and get the win there. Fair play to them, I say. They've battled for it. They really have. Everton beat Brighton 3-1. Fair play to them. Newcastle beat Watford 1-0. Fair play to them. West Ham beat Burnley 4-2. Arsenal and Liverpool drew. This is probably the only positive result for us at the weekend, really, is that those teams dropped points. One of them or both of them were going to drop points. It did happen in the end. They both dropped points. They both dropped 2 points. We gained 2 points on Arsenal and Liverpool this weekend. Get in there, my son. We absolutely needed to. Liverpool still unbeaten, though. Goes to show you, though, I want to talk about Arsenal now. Goes to show you, though, that they are up for it this season. They do look better. They are better this season. Because Liverpool have quality this season. You have to say, Kloppy strengthened at the back there. They've got a little bit more balance in terms of their play. They're not quite as gung-ho in attacking, but they've still got that in there. They will still rip teams apart because of the attacking talents that they've got in there. But they're a bit more defensively sound, so they're going to be tough to beat, but at the same time, very tough to not lose against because they're so good going forward. So just the fact that Arsenal are able to get that 1-1 draw against Liverpool, I mean, I didn't see the game. I don't know how much of a contest it was. But I say fair play to Arsenal. I know they're at home. And in a couple of years ago, you would have perhaps had them as the favourites. But at this moment in time, the fact that Liverpool went there and were not able to beat them, I think speaks volumes for the work that's being done over at Arsenal Football Club. The Spurs, they beat freaking Wolverhampton. Yeah, do one Spurs. So, yeah, I think in general, City battered Southampton, didn't they? 6-1 batterings. Pep Guardiola, man. He is a good manager, isn't he? I mean, the way his teams play. I mean, the pressing high up the pitch there. The motivation of the players to close everything down and run their socks off. The skill and ability that they've got. The tactics that they employ. Wow, I mean, they are a really good team. I know they only beat Southampton, but 6-1, rip a team apart. They totally outclassed them. You're going to see that time and time again this season. You really are. They were unreal last season, one of the best Premier League sides. I mean, I hate to say it, but you've got to give credit where credit's due. They're unreal. Guardiola's done an unreal job there. They've got crazy good players. They've got a crazy good team ethic. They've got a crazy good tactic behind them. They always play a very similar sort of way. You know what you're going to get, but nobody can stop it. It doesn't matter if you know how they're going to play. Nobody can stop it. It is like his Guardiola Barcelona side. You have to say that his style of football, his style of management, is the best in the world right now. It really is. I know he wasn't able to maybe deliver quite what he wanted at Bayern Munich, but he still was successful with them. But whether it's in Spain, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in England, he's always been successful. He's always delivered. So fair play to the Baldy. You know, what can I say about him? It's a disgrace that he's so good and that City are so good at the moment and United are not. But you have to give credit where credit's due. I think they're nailed on for the trophy this season. I do. Based on last year, based on this year so far, they're unbeaten. They're ripping teams apart. They're playing lovely football. I don't see the Premier League trophy going anywhere else other than City this year. And I hate to say that, I really do. And of course, Liverpool are in there. Chelsea are in there. But in terms of longevity and actually doing it consistently over the season, I think City have got a much better chance of making that happen than anybody else. If you're tuning in right now, do us a favour, smash us a like on this video. How many times have I said that in this video? I just use that as like a bullshit filler. When I've run out of something to say, when I don't know the next topic I'm going to talk about, I just say chuck a like on it. It's fucking desperate, isn't it? No, thank you so much, though, for doing so. I appreciate it. Right, let me just talk about this. So Matic, sort of refusing to wear a poppy. Now, I don't really want to criticise him too much. I saw some people being very negative about it and saying all this about, it's not really right that he's not honouring the fallen and all that sort of stuff. But, from his own estimation, or how he summarised it, it is that basically it reminds him of a horrific incident that happened in Serbia when he was 12 years old or something, where loads of people were bombed and killed. And, I personally think you've got to take somebody's own personal reflections of a symbol. You've got to respect that, So it doesn't really bother me too much. As a British person, obviously I want to commemorate the fallen and those who fought for this country previously to keep it being British. I've got nothing against Nemanja Matic about that. I just wanted to bring it up because there's some talk about, sort your lives out, people. There's bigger stuff going on in the world. Why are you jumping on Matic just because he's not wearing a poppy, man? You know, it's a different culture. He's from a different country. It doesn't mean the same thing over there, maybe. Maybe it means something very negative. There's surely a reason behind it. He doesn't seem like somebody that would want to rub people up the wrong way. He doesn't seem like somebody that wants to cause controversy. He obviously has some sort of deep meaning to him, and that's just what it is. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up and say, you know, whatever. Bit of a bullshit topic. I'm sort of indifferent about that one. Right, let's get on to an ex-Manchester United legend here. And that is Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney! Wazza! Wazza! He's only going to play for England again. What? Wayne Rooney is going to put on the England shirt for one final cap and one final farewell for England. Can you believe that? And do you know what pisses me off? All the hoity-toity, namby-pample people getting on his back, man. Getting on Southgate's back. Getting on England national team's back, saying, why are you bringing this archaic being back into existence? He's retired from international football. Why are you bringing him back into the fold? This is just England all over. Negative. But I just want to say to those people, you guys are idiots. Listen, this is the all-time leading goal scorer for England. Wayne Rooney, the all-time leading goal scorer for United too. I know, you know, we're talking about England now. But you cannot deny the contribution that he made to England. The amount of goals he scored. Yes, it wasn't always fantastic. Yes, it wasn't always in major tournaments or against the very best teams in the world. But he still got the numbers up there. He's still our most capped outfield player of all time. And you want to take away this swan song, this farewell opportunity? You're idiots. I want to see Wayne Rooney put on that England shirt. I want to see Wayne Rooney play for England that last time and get that proper farewell that he does deserve. Why the hell not, man? He was a great son to the club. It's only against shitty USA anyway. Do you know what I mean? We're playing the USA on the 15th of November. You know, he's ripping them up in the MLS. Let him rip it up at Wembley Stadium for England. Why not? Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's going to come in afterwards and be in the England squad again. That's not going to happen. Trust me. We're looking to the future now. Southgate is progressive. He's got this mentality that, you know, the future of England depends on the youth, the young players coming through. He's absolutely right. I don't want to see these, you know, players who have retired from international football. I don't want to see John Terry come out of international retirement just because he might be at the moment one of the most experienced players we can actually stick in there. No, because that boat has sailed. That ship has sailed. That's in the past now. We need to move on and put faith in the younger players and the new generation. We saw what can happen at the World Cup. I know we had a good run, but still the best we've done for a very long time since 1990. So my personal opinion is sort your lives out. You know, what's the matter with all you people criticising Wayne Rooney and criticising England for giving him this opportunity to feature for England in this game against the USA? It will get more eyes on the game. You know, he's a big star over there in the MLS. It's only going to encourage people to watch this game. So I don't see the problem with it myself. I think there's a lot of people out there who just need to pull that stick firmly out of their arse. Alex Rudd comments with a super chat. Thank you, Alex. FIFA and talk. I have the idea for a show. Absolutely, mate. Yeah, that's a great idea, man. Just get somebody on, such as yourself, every single week. Play a game, a couple of games of FIFA. FIFA, talk about United, talk about football, talk about whatever. It doesn't even have to be about football United. That's the thing. Sort of want to expand this this show into being about anything. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be about football. Obviously, this show on a Monday is about the Premier League and about football. But generally on this channel, you know, I want to come out with all sorts of random shit. Richard James comments and says, if you don't think Brian Robson should be in United's all-time 11, then I'll batter your body with my meat hammer. Jeepers creepers, pal. Keep it to yourself there. You are messed up. You're one messed up individual, Rich. But no, Brian Robson, you know, Captain Fantastic. I mean, it was a little bit before my time. Obviously, 80s, he was unbelievable captain for both United and England. And obviously, from what I've seen, he was incredible. You will probably have a better judge of it than me. But come on now. Can he get into that midfield? Can he get in there? Who's he knocking off? Are you telling me he gets there ahead of Keane? Are you telling me he gets there ahead of Scholesy? I mean, maybe he should. But in my opinion, he doesn't. That's only, I guess, because I didn't really grow up watching Brian Robson week in, week out. So I know at the time he was unbelievable. I know he's regarded as a true United legend. And he absolutely is. And he was an incredible sort of box-to-box midfielder who could do it all. He was another leader, and he was a real sort of respectful man as well, which is great. But no, I mean, I'm just going to go down my all-time Manchester United 11 right now. This is my own opinion, okay? Nobody's going to agree with me. This is my thoughts and opinions on the situation, okay? This is it, right here. And you're going to criticize me. Who knows who's going to be right? You're all going to criticize me, but this is my 11, right? Let's say we're going for a 4-4-2, just for argument's sake. Now, I'm going to start at the back here. Peter Schmeichel is the goalie. David De Gea is great young player. Not so young anymore, but great career he's had up until this point, and he's still young. He could go on, if he stays at Manchester United and wins things, he could go on and maybe get into that all-time greatest 11 for me, but he's not there yet. Edwin van der Sar was absolutely incredible. He holds a serious piece in my heart for not only that penalty save against Chelsea in the Champions League final, but just his general commitment to the club, his general ability. We had this period of turmoil after Schmeichel left in terms of goalkeepers. You know, we couldn't get a goalkeeper that was consistent. We had Barthez, who was a good goalkeeper, but he had so many errors in him. I remember him making 2 calamities in the Champions League game against Deportivo La Coruña and costing us the game, man. And he was just like complete garbage in some games. He made so many errors. So, and then we had players like Roy Carroll and Mark Bosnich, the Coke Fiend. So we needed a player like Edwin van der Sar. So for me, just to get him in there, you know, we should have got him before he went to Fulham, in all honesty, but we got him and he was amazing for us. But he doesn't quite match up to Peter Schmeichel for me. Peter Schmeichel is the all-time best goalkeeper in the world, let alone, you know, for Manchester United. So he's the goalie. My back four, now, this is controversial because a lot of people would think I'd say Patrice Evra as the left back, and he's second. He's second, but it's got to be Dennis Irwin for me. A lot of the young uns won't know, but some of the old uns definitely will. Dennis Irwin was a real player back in the day. You know, set pieces, penalties he used to take, and he was a left back. He was a flying left back. He had a great technical ability, solid as a rock. To me, he's the best left back I've seen play and feature for United. On the right-hand side of defence, it's got to be Gary Neville, really. You know, to me, Gary Neville was so solid. I know he's not considered one of the greatest left backs or even technically good, but in terms of leadership out there, in terms of you know, competitiveness, he was absolutely unbelievable. I think he was fantastic for Manchester United. You know, a lot of that maybe is down to Sir Alex Ferguson, but I think he deserves to be in there. And it's almost crazy. Maybe I want to change my formation because there's no way a player like Gary Neville really should be getting in there and a player like Andy Cole shouldn't. But Andy Cole's nowhere near this side, I'm just saying. But as a right back, he's my choice right back. Now, the 2 centre-backs, this is very difficult. It could be Bruce, it could be Pallister, it could be Jaap Stam. But to me, if we're going for a centre-back pairing, players who could play together in synergy, who could play together fantastically well, you can't look any further than Vidic and Rio Ferdinand. Those two were the Rolls Royces of the Premier League at the time. They were so defensively solid. Barely made any errors, worked so well in tandem together, were solid as a rock, both leaders, both competitive. And yeah, so that's my back line. It's a pretty damn good back line, isn't it? With Schmeichel in the goal as well. Irwin, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, and Gary Neville. That's my all-time back four, best back four of all time. Now, of course, we could go back into the day here, and I'm not going to, you know, select people like Bobby Charlton, even though, realistically, if you're talking about all-round skill, a player could bang in stunning goals, left foot, right foot, had it all. At the time, he's considered one of the very best players in the world, and certainly, you know, up until recently was all-time goal scorer for Manchester United from midfield. So it's almost a sham that he's not in my side, but I'm just going to say it has to be my personal Manchester United all-time 11. Cannot feature players like Dennis Law, cannot feature players like George Best, cannot feature players like Bobby Charlton, just because I did not see them week in, week out. I know what they did, I know how good they were. And I know there's a, you know, it's not just now. It's not about, you know, just because it's contemporary doesn't mean it's the best. I don't believe that. I think you have to look at the contribution players have made to the club. But I just want to narrow this down to all-time Premier League 11. So, you know, okay, Brian Robson might not get in there as well. It's a bit before then. But, you know, that's what I just want to justify my selections. Now, the midfield, the 4 in midfield, this is where it gets interesting, lads. This is where it gets interesting, okay? Because it's so difficult for me to pick this. It really, really is. And do you know what? I'm going to... Oh, man, I can't do it. No, I can't. I was going to say I'm going to change it to a 4-3-3, but I can't. 4-4-2, right? The two midfielders, I'm going to have to stick Keane and Scholesy in there. It has to be Roy Keane. It has to be Paul Scholes. You can't get a better pairing than that. One absolute wizard with the ball in Paul Scholes and one absolute beast, destructive beast in Roy Keane, who could also bloody play, let me tell you. So those two are the two midfielders. And I'm looking at other players like, Becks and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, I'm sorry, you don't quite get in there, Becks. You were amazing, but I'm looking at longevity. I'm looking at all the factors here. Left mid, it's got to be Ryan Giggs. Anybody else, it's got to be Ryan Giggs. He's the easiest one to pick. Now, the right-hand side of the pitch, this is where it gets a little bit tricky for me because, yeah, I could put Beckham there. He did play right mid for us. And he was quality. But the only way that I can get Cristiano Ronaldo into my team is to stick him in there. And he has to be in there. Now, I could put him up top there, but who am I going to sacrifice? I'm not happy sacrificing the two players who I've chosen up top there. So I have to put Ronaldo on the right wing. I'm not sticking Giggsy on the right wing. He's a left winger. Ronaldo's more versatile. He's my right winger. But I think the spell that he had at Manchester United, no, he won the Ballon d'Or at United. He was one of the very best players in the world, the best player in the world that year, whilst representing Manchester United. He scored shitloads of goals for us. He was very influential, had a great career. It's a shame that he wanted to move on. But to me, in terms of quality, you would be a fool not to have Cristiano Ronaldo in the starting 11. Now, the strikers for me, this is where it gets so tough because we've had some legends over the years. We really, really have. We've had some absolute legends. People like Wayne Rooney. People like Ruud van Nistelrooy. People like Andy Cole, Dwight York. Do you know who gets into my team? The two people up front that I would select. It has to be Ruud van Nistelrooy. He has to be in there because he was so good. When he was at Manchester United, I think he was the quickest player to ever get to 100 goals in the Premier League or for Manchester United. That's how bloody good he was while we had him. Yeah, he moved on afterwards as well. The horse-faced fool. But while he was there, he was absolutely unbelievable. I loved Ruud van Nistelrooy. He was so good. Probably the best finisher we've ever seen at Manchester United. He was such a finisher. So for me, he's got to be in there. And then partnering him, playing in just behind, maybe the centre-forward role, would be Eric Cantona. How can you not have Cantona in there? 4 Premier League seasons out of 5 when he was at the club. He was such a catalyst for us. He led from the front. He was a beast of a player. So technically good. So that's my team. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments section below. Please do get your thoughts and opinions in on my all-time Manchester United 11. And that's just off the top of my head. To run it down, it's Schmeichel in goal. It's Dennis Irwin. It's Rio and Vidic. It's Gary Neville. It's Paul Scholes and Keane in the centre of the park, Ryan Giggs on the left, Cristiano Ronaldo on the right, Eric Cantona up top, with Ruud van Nistelrooy sitting in front of him. What do you think about that, lads and lasses? That is my team. Gungshi says, I picked the same team. Vince Chapman says, I got it exactly right. Richard James comments, Schmeichel, Irwin, Vidic, Pallister, Neville, Scholes, Robson, Ronaldo, Giggs, York, Cole. Fair play to you, man. York and Cole in your all-time 11. I respect that. Because what I would say is that season, the 98-99 season, that partnership, I don't think you can really get a better strike partnership than that one. Because for whatever reason, Yorkie was great, came over from Villa. He was absolutely fantastic for us. As was Andy Cole, one of the best Premier League strikers at the time, definitely. But those two together, man, there was something so special about them. So I really respect that, Richard, that you would choose those two players ahead of the likes of what I've said, ahead of the Rooneys of this world, ahead of the Van Nistelrooys of this world, of the Cantonas of this world. I respect you there, pal, I really do, because as a strike partnership, individually, on its own, maybe, they weren't quite as good, certainly longevity-wise, as some of the other players. But that season, man, or those couple of seasons that they played together, there was not a better partnership. So I respect that just in terms of a pure attacking combination. As a pair, they were absolutely brilliant. Maximilian7 comments with a very valid comment here. And he comments and says, you can't miss Rooney, mate. He's our all-time record goal scorer. It's crazy to say this, that why would I not put Rooney in there as our all-time greatest goal scorer? And he was such a great player as well. Since he's left, there's only absence has made the heart grow fonder for me. Yeah, I was pissed off of him at the end of his career for Manchester United because he wasn't quite up to the standard. But I think if you look at earlier on in his career, You know, I've said it so many times. He was a very special player indeed. You do not get to be England's all-time goal scorer and Manchester United's all-time goal scorer if you're not a very special talent indeed. He deserves to be in there, man. But as does so many other people, they really do. That's why it's so difficult for me to narrow it down to 11. But I can't put him in there ahead of Cantona or Van Nistelrooy. I just can't. I really can't. But I understand why you would, though. Definitely. Oh. Bear with me one moment, lads and lasses here. I'm just looking at some of your comments to see. I believe somebody has sent another super chat in, which I've missed, so I don't want to miss that. I'm going to, of course, read that out. But yeah, seriously, thanks. There's lots of comments coming in here, guys, today. So thanks so much for getting involved with the stream as ever. Holy shit balls! Have we been talking for an hour? That's crazy. I can't believe how quickly the time's gone by today. It feels like literally about 20 minutes to me. Turn the video on. We're chatting cod shit. You guys are asking great questions, which mean that I have to answer them with my thoughts, like Manchester United's all-time greatest 11. And before you know it, we've done an hour. Holy crap, that's mental. That's absolutely mental. Maybe I didn't get a super chat then. No worries. I'll just go back to reading some of your comments at the end of the game here. Oh, actually, hang on. Let me just talk about one thing before we wrap this up with a little bit of a Q&A at the end here. Floyd Mayweather's going to have some sort of a kickboxing match with some Japanese fellow. Are you taking the piss? I mean, seriously, is he actually going to do that? What's that all about? I mean, it's crazy. It's to be confirmed what the actual fight is, whether it's a mixed rules fight, whether it's a kickboxing fight, whether it's a boxing fight. But I believe he's going to partake in some sort of a mixed rules fight. Can you believe that? A mixed rules fight. And it's not against Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's not against Conor McGregor. It's against some very small Japanese fellow. So I personally hope it happens. I personally hope it's a full contact Muay Thai fight. And I hope Floyd Mayweather gets the shit kicked out of him, man. Because I've been waiting a very, very long time to see that. You know, I don't like Floyd Mayweather as a person. He's a flash bastard, isn't he? But as a boxer, as a defensive boxer, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, it gets better in terms of an entertaining boxer, but in terms of just a technical defensive boxer, you don't get any better than Floyd Mayweather, you know, the technical ability. He's never really been troubled too much in his boxing career. I want to see him get KTFO'd. That's what I want to see, and then I'll be a happy man. I don't think it will happen in this, though. You know, he's fighting some Japanese guy called Tenshin Nasukawa, and... you know, I just thought it was an interesting topic. Let me know what you guys think about that. Do you even want to see that? Do you care? You know, I would like to see it just in the prospect that he might get laid out. Right, lads and lasses, get your thoughts and opinions in now. We're going to have a little question and answer at the end of the show here, just to end it, just to cap it off. But I hope you've enjoyed tuning into the live stream today. Want to say apologies for not doing the video after the Bournemouth game. Normal service will be resumed for the next game. Wasn't able to do it. I had a bit of a hectic weekend with work and stuff, so wasn't able to do it. But, you know, normal service will be resumed after this one. And to everybody who's got involved today, to everybody who has commented, everybody who's interacted with this video today, you're a bunch of legends. Thanks so much for stopping by on the channel. That's the reason I keep doing these videos, because it's so fun talking to you guys, so fun interacting with you people. And there's some people that actually tune in and watch this. You're mad. You're nuts in the head. But you do. So, yeah, thanks so much. Richard James comments, Piggy, prediction for Wednesday night. So, okay, Juventus away. It's a tough game. I'm going to say we're going to lose 2-1. I think we are going to score, but I think they're going to be defensively sound. I think they're going to pile on the pressure and dominate us like they did. And I hate to say that. I really hate to say that. You know, if we had Giggsy and Keane in the side, then I'd say we'd go to Juventus and we'd smash them. But because we don't, I can't say that. I'm not confident about this game. Based on how we did against Bournemouth, I'm not confident we can go to Juventus and get the result. So I'm going for a 2-1 loss to Juventus. And that's me keeping it real. You know, I could just bullshit and say, oh, we're going to win the game, you know, come on United and all that. But I don't think we're going to be able to do it. I think they've got a little bit too much for us in quality at the moment. I think they've got a little bit too much for us in team sort of fluidity, if you like. I think their team is very, very good. They're confident. They're on a really good run, both domestically and in the Champions League. And I just think it's going to be a very, very tough time indeed for Manchester United to go there and give a good account of ourselves based on how inconsistent we've been and some of the shite that we've got in there. Maximilian comments, hey Pig, glad to see you as always. There has been a discussion saying Pep is the greatest coach ever. Isn't that a bit disrespectful to Sir Alex Ferguson, considering Pep hasn't won a Champions League for no club except Barcelona? Good question. Good comment there, Maximilian7. I love it. That is a fantastic little question you've put together there. And in my opinion, I think it is disrespectful because there's no way Pep Guardiola is even in the same breath as Sir Alex Ferguson to me. I know, he's actually won more Champions Leagues, I believe, hasn't he? Than Sir Alex Ferguson has, which is a travesty. But in terms of domestically, in terms of just longevity, you can't even have him in the same conversation. He is actually one of the best managers of all time. He's not in the same conversation as your Cloughys or your Shankleys or your Sir Alex Fergusons. He's not there, but he's in the next tier below. He's in that Jose Mourinho category, definitely. Just based on the amount of stuff that he's won, you can't deny his style of coaching is fantastic. It's the best in the world at the moment. The way his teams play, the way he's able to have that Guardiola effect when he comes into a new club, and it took a bit of time at City, but he got them playing that way, and they've been a force ever since. He was successful over in Bayern, not as successful as he'd like, Champions League and stuff, but he was successful in his period when he was the manager of Barcelona with that set of players. It will probably go down as one of the very best teams to ever play the game. They really will. That Barcelona side, when Pep Guardiola was manager, the way they played, how dominant they were. You have to say they're one of the very best teams to ever play the game. So you've got to have him in the conversation, but nobody comes close to Sir Alex Ferguson. I don't think we'll ever see a manager who's at a club so long and continually win stuff all the time, throughout that entire spell. Now, there were times when we didn't win, but the next year we would win. It's like he always had us in there with a shout. We were always dominant. We were up there challenging every single year, and we won more often than not, really, or at least half of the time. I think, what did he manage at the club? Was it 26 seasons or something, and we won half of those? And considering there's all these other clubs fighting for those spots with great teams, Arsenal's Invincibles and Jose's Chelsea's and all these teams coming in, I think it just goes to show you what an unbelievable manager he really was. I don't think that you can get anywhere close to him. Serious Lee comments, Sir Alex Ferguson continually built teams at United. He didn't have to move from squad to squad. You are so right there. The amount of times that he brought United's new players through, brought new players in, changed the team. That's another talent that he had, bringing new teams through. He had Pallister, he had Bruce, he had Irwin, he had Paul Parker. What an unbelievable defence that was. Now look at the next generation after that. We had Stam and the Nevilles and all those guys, Nicky Butt, midfielder, and Scholesy, and all those guys all came in after the likes of, Robson and Kanchelskis and all these guys that he had before that, the early 90s team. Then we had the late 90s team, which I consider to be the best United team, or one of the best United teams maybe, up there with the 2008 squad. That's the thing, when you talk about United sides on a Fergie, it's so easy to do because they were so good. It's like you've got that 98-99 treble winning side, which is just, unbelievable. Solskjaer, the super sub, the best super sub ever. Unbelievable player, the baby-faced assassin. I loved Solskjaer. I absolutely loved Ole Gunnar. He was an absolute legend. Teddy Sheringham, we had for a bit. Dwight York, Andy Cole, the best Premiership partnership ever, probably. What an unbelievable team that was. And then the next generation after that, if you like, players like Vidic, Ferdinand, and then Patrice Evra. And then, midfield-wise, Scholesy's still around, of course, but midfield has changed. Got rid of Beckham, brought Ronaldo in. Ronaldo went, brought Valencia in. He was amazing. Strikers, the amount of strikers we've seen come and go, but always fantastic. Basically, he was just an unbelievable manager. I totally agree with your point there. The players he brought through as well, class of 92, the youth players, not only that, bringing players in, buying players who have been at United for a long time, players like Vidic for F all money, players like Cantona for £1 million, players like Schmeichel for a couple of 100,000. It's unbelievable the amount of talents that he managed to bring through and find. And yeah, we spent big sometimes, Rio Ferdinand, but what a player that was, what an investment that was. That paid off, didn't it? Berbatov, 30 odd million, maybe didn't live up to it, but in my opinion, Berbatov, I loved Berbatov. He's such a technically gifted player. I loved the way he played, such an elegant player. You know, he can't be considered in the same breath as, you know, the Rooneys or the Van Nistelrooys or the Cantonas of this world. But Berbatov, to me, was another excellent player that Fergie signed. That's the thing. He just built these amazing teams time and time again. When one player left, he brought a new player in. No player was bigger than the club. That was evident with the likes of Beck's leaving. And then it's like, oh, we've lost Beck's. Now what? Oh, we've just found Ronaldo. Oh, okay, Ronaldo's leaving. Now what? Antonio Valencia from Wigan. All of a sudden, he's fucking awesome. You know, so he was just a mastermind. You're not going to get a better manager than him. Pep Guardiola is an amazing manager, no doubt about it. What he's doing in this game at the moment, he's probably the best manager around right now, but not of all time. He can't compete with Sir Alex yet. Maybe in 20 years' time, maybe in 10 years' time. If he can win 10 Premier League trophies, or go to PSG and win stuff, or go to Italy and win stuff, you know, it adds to it. But in terms of longevity, doing it at one club, bringing new squads through, like the man said, I don't think anybody's ever going to compete with him. Nobody's ever going to compete with Sir Alex Ferguson, in my mind. And it's not like Sir Alex only did it for one club as well. Like, people say, oh yeah, but you know, he didn't go, you could do it in the Premier League, couldn't do it in Serie A or whatever. We will never know. He had no reason to leave Manchester United, but he did do it for Aberdeen, didn't he? You know, Aberdeen, the force that is Aberdeen. Hang on a second. So you're telling me that he managed to wrestle away the Scottish Premiership off of the likes of Rangers, the likes of Celtic, with freaking Aberdeen? And I believe, didn't he win the UEFA Cup with Aberdeen? Did he win the UEFA Cup with Aberdeen? Or was it the fucking Champions League? I forget now. But he was Aberdeen's manager. And obviously after that, since then, what have you heard about Aberdeen as a football club? You know, I know they do some good beef. Some good Aberdeen Angus beef, but I'm not talking about. Beef. I'm talking about them as a footballing club, and since then they've not been. You know, who the fuck's talking about Aberdeen these days? But that manager, before he came to Manchester United, managed to get Aberdeen winning shit, not just domestically, but in European competitions as well. That's how bloody good of a manager he was. You know, he was able to get shit teams into a quality team, like Brian Clough. Brian Clough, to me, doesn't get enough credit. He's another one of those managers. The amount of times that he took a shitty club over, bought players. Yeah, he always had money to spend, but he bought players and built squads that were just dominant and won stuff as a small club. You know, Nottingham Forest won the European Cup 2 years in a row, mate. Eh? Who the fuck does stuff like that? That is a managerial achievement, in my opinion. You know, Pep Guardiola's unbelievable. And I'm sure he will win more Champions League before he retires. Yeah, look at that. Vince Chapman comments, Europa Cup with Aberdeen beating Real in the final. I think, yeah, just the fact they were in that, you know, the equivalent UEFA Cup, Europa Cup, whatever you want to call it back in the day. The fact that he got Aberdeen winning the Scottish Premiership and then winning a European trophy just goes to show what an unbelievable player, unbelievable manager he really was. And that's before Manchester United. That's before the consistently dominant, victorious spell that he had as Manchester United manager. It's crazy. The mind boggles. Anyway, lads and lasses, thank you all so much for getting involved in the comment section. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys today. All the people who've stopped by here, who've interacted, really appreciate it. Do us a favour before you go. Smash a like on this video. Tell your friends about it. Tell your granny about it. Get them involved. Let them know about this Flying Pig podcast that we do on this channel. You can find it on SoundCloud as well. SoundCloud.com/MrFlyingPigHD, or Flying Pig United, or Flying Pig Podcast, or search on your podcast app for Monday Analysis or Flying Pig or any shit like that. Gungshi comments, cheers Pig, cheers to you Gungshi, really appreciate all the support you show, continue supporting the channel, absolute legend. He says get Henry on soon. I need to get Henry on soon. I think he's just absolutely whipped at the moment. You know, he's working hard over there, and he's just not, I don't know what's going on, but I would try and get him on there, Gungshi, I really will. We need to get him in there and check on, hopefully he's still alive. Right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for stopping by. You're a bunch of legends. I'll see you all very, very soon. TFCHD, shout out to you. Vince Chapman, shout out to you. The Rincon, the Rud, shout out to you, all of you. James Arnold, shout out to you, all of you. Gungshi, everybody else who I've not mentioned, thanks so much for getting involved with this stream. I'll see you soon. Every single Monday analysis, breaking down the weekend's football. You can expect to see that every single week on this channel. This week I will get round to doing a midweek mumble as well after the Juventus game. So basically I'm going to do a midweek mumble video similar to this. the day after the Champions League game with Manchester United in it. So this week I would actually do that after the Juventus game, but I will be doing the match reaction, of course, for the Juventus game after that. So make sure you keep a lookout for that on the channel. You can click the bell button as well to be notified when I do post a new video or I go live on this channel. So click that little bell end, and I'll see you very, very soon. You can follow me on social media at Mr. Fine Pig HD. Until next time, take it easy. Have yourselves a good one. This is the Pig, and come on United.